nice to meet you guys. Thank you so much for coming on. How are you?
We're good. Can you hear us okay?
Yeah, I can hear you great.
Okay, great.
All
I
right.
think this might be our first time doing Instagram Live.
Yeah.
Well, welcome. So much fun. Before we get started, just wanted to take a minute to have you guys introduce yourselves to our community.
Sure. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Rena. I don't know where to start.
I'm Noah Allen. We live in Washington Heights in New York City. And yeah, we have two beautiful daughters. We have a almost 9-year-old and 16-month-old. Our 16-month-old joined us through adoption. And we actually used the agency Spence Chapin that you had on earlier in the month.
Oh, you guys froze for a second. Oh no. Let's see. How do we unfreeze? Can you guys see me, or am I frozen for you? Could somebody leave a comment and just let me know? Let's see. Do we have to start all over? That was weird. You guys froze. All right, I'm going. Here we go. Let's try this again. Okay. Let's try again. Let's see. Okay, all better now?
Hi again.
Okay, hi. Technology is so great, isn't it?
Yes.
Especially when you need it to work. Okay.
Yes.
Well, thank you again for coming on. So we did preface this by saying that your journey did not involve infertility. We wanted to make that very clear. And we are so excited to speak with you because we know that you have so much information to share with us about how to navigate the adoption journey as waiting parents. So without further ado, figured we'd just dive on in. How and when did you know that you wanted to pursue adoption to grow your family?
So I always felt drawn to adoption, even as a kid. And I always say I don't really know why, but now I know why because we have a beautiful daughter who's adopted. But it was something that we actually had talked about early on in our marriage. And we did first have a biological child. I actually had an initial pregnancy that I won't go into all of the details, but it did not result in a baby, and it was a very challenging pregnancy. And then I got pregnant again and had our older daughter. And that also came with its own complications. And so kind of between there were lots of different factors. One was this draw to adoption. One was the fact that I didn't enjoy my pregnancy. I enjoyed being pregnant, but I didn't enjoy a lot of other aspects of the experience that we had. And it just felt like the right thing for us at the time. So that's how we got there.
Yeah, we then did, once we knew we wanted to pursue it, we also learned a lot about it and the process and different ways to go about even pursuing adoption, which can be, and I think Monica alluded to it when she did the live a couple weeks ago, that there's private adoption, there's using agencies, and there's different things, international and all sorts of things. So we did about, I don't know, probably 9 to 12 months of just research on what was the right path even for adoption for us. And we wound up working with Spence Chapin. Sorry. We wound up working with Spence Chapin as the agency for a variety of reasons. And that just felt like it was right for us. And I think a lot of an adoption journey has to just be what's right for the family and for the people going through it. And there's no right or wrong. It's just what feels right for everyone in that moment. And that's what felt right for us.
Beautiful.
I'll also just add, there's a book the title is Casting Lots by Rabbi Susan Silverman. Is that right? I think we both read it early on in our research. And if you're looking for kind of a Jewish adoption story, it's a beautiful book. And that was kind of what kicked our research into gear.
Oh, amazing. Oh, that's so beautiful. Did you have any concerns or reservations going into your journey?
Yeah, I would say so many. I would say our first was just really knowing that we didn't know a ton about adoption. We knew all of the really beautiful things that you see in the media,
Right.
and we knew some personal stories. We have a little bit of adoption in our family, which was also, kind of beautifully represented. And we also knew that there were some darker sides to adoption and some challenging pieces of adoption. And that was where we really needed to kind of do our research and beef up our skills and our knowledge. The agency that we chose ended up really holding our hands through that process, but going into it, we didn't know that we would get that kind of support. And certainly had we chosen a different path to adoption, we would not have gotten that support. So
Right.
that was choosing our agency felt like a really big decision, and still remains kind of one of the best moves that we made in the whole very long process.
Amazing. When did you start the process and how long did it take?
So I would say from the beginning of our conversations until our daughter's adoption was about 5 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
The first year and a half was research, and for the agency that we use, there's a whole particular list of things that you have to do in order to be eligible to get an application.
Oh, wow.
So there's, I think, 3 different webinars. I don't know if it's exactly the same now, but there was a bit of work to do in advance of the application. Then once we, sorry.
I was just going to say, Monica, who was from Special, she, I think, alluded to that, like about their application process on the last time. And so we had to go through that and like take some classes, because they really, what we were drawn to about them was the like amount of support and education. They were like really making us think about this process before just like jumping in. It's not a decision you just wake up one morning like, let's start an adoption journey. Right. They really made you think about it before even applying to be part of their process. And that, once that all happened, we had like an initial meeting with other adoptive families. It was like an orientation. And that was in February of 2019. And then we went through our home study process, which is a lot of forms and materials and interviews and things. Sorry. And that took us about 4 months to complete. And then by June of 2019, we were what is known as a waiting family. So at any point, we were then like approved, like certified, like we went through background checks and all that stuff. And so at any moment, we could have gotten a call from the agency saying, there's a possible match, and how does that process go forward? There was a lot of no calls, I guess, for a long time. And then from that point, it was 3.5 years till we brought our daughter home.
Wow. That takes just a lot from you, I'm sure.
Yeah, I would say the wait, we were prepared for kind of like a 12 to 24 month wait. The first year was okay, the second year, and then I would say it got progressively harder each year. The wait was long, and it happens all different ways for different people. There's no prescription. And, we know people who got a call within 3 weeks of becoming a waiting family.
Oh, wow.
Which can happen because it's really in the birth parents' court, meaning they have to choose us. So the birth parent chooses the adoptive family. And so it's really totally out of your control. If a birth parent is looking through the families and they connect to something in your family's history and they choose you, it could be at any time. Right. But for us, we had about 2.5 years of quiet. And then in the last year, we had a few different calls. Some that, all of them until the last one did not lead to a baby. Either it wasn't right for us or we weren't right for the birth mom generally. And until we got the call about our daughter. So
other than the wait, was there anything else that kind of took you by surprise in the process?
I would say the whole process took us by surprise. It's just not there a genuine view of what an adoption looks like. There's just nowhere to read it. There's nowhere to find it. The only really kind of accurate material we had was personal connections that we knew. And even in that case, there are kind of two families that are close to us. There are more, but two that I'm thinking of at the moment. One was an international adoption, and the other, they don't have any biological children. That they have two children who are both adopted. And so even when we thought about who we did know, they weren't. It still wasn't so similar to our story. We were pursuing adoption for different reasons. We had a child at home. When we thought about how to talk to her about it, we started the process when she was 3 years old, and she became a big sister when she was 7.5.
Right.
So that experience was unique in that we had to figure out how to teach her about adoption, how to talk to her about it, how to tell her that we have no idea how long it's going to take. So I would say there was almost nothing predictable about the process.
Yeah. I think also part of it is because there's no timeline like a traditional pregnancy that in advance, and there's ways of going through adoption that you might match with a birth mother when they are still pregnant and things, but in our case that wasn't our experience. So it's also just like going through life being like at any moment things could change. Like we had worked out like, okay, like call when you have Rena would text me, call when you have a chance, nothing urgent, right? Like not adoption related, right? Like we knew like, okay, if you call or like, even if I'm in a meeting, like we'll take the call and things like that. I think for me, I'll speak for myself, is that it is sometimes like, it's not something that's like so known, right? You have to like explicitly tell people, oh, we're waiting to become an adoptive family. And so then it versus like someone knows that your spouse or partner is pregnant, or you may be going through surrogacy, but like our closest friends knew, and so they kind of would check in with us over time, but it wasn't a very public thing. Like everybody knew, so like going to shul on Shabbat and like it was a hard week, or we went through almost had a match but didn't match, and so it's a more private experience to some extent, or as much to the extent that we went through for us than others might be like sharing it. So it's that is some of the difficulty in the waiting also, because not everyone knows you're going through it, which is both good and bad.
Something I want to circle back to, because it's actually our next topic, is talking to your children about their story. And I'm curious how you spoke to your oldest daughter, about the process, and also how you have been speaking or would like to share your younger daughter's story with her.
So for our older daughter, because she was little, she was 3 and 4 when we were really starting the process, we decided that we would expose her to adoption, kind of the concept of it. And before we explained to her that we were going through an adoption, so she would have some context. So there are some good episodes on Doc McStuffins, which happened to be a favorite show of hers. Doc McStuffins has an adopted sister. So and she loved that show. So we kind of belabored those episodes. At the beginning, we have a couple of books that mentioned adoption, and we tried to explain it to her without attaching it to us first. And then eventually, once we were really in the process and we knew what was going to happen eventually, we told her that we were adopting. And that was kind of, a non-event. She was excited. We also didn't want to get her too excited because we knew it was probably going to be a long wait. And, that was kind of that. In terms of our younger daughter who is adopted, one thing that we both kind of latched onto that our agency taught us is that if a child remembers being told that they're adopted, it's too late. You waited too long. And in our case, our younger daughter is Hispanic, so we're you know, she's more obviously adopted, I guess, in a lot of different contexts. But you know, we really latched onto that idea from the agency, and so we talk about it all the time. I always think about sitting in the hospital with her and Noah. She was, you know, this little very, very tiny baby, and Noah saying to her, "You're adopted, and we're your parents," and you know, talking about her birth mom and talking about her story. And so we talk about it all the time. We have a full library of books about adoption. We have books about the country that her birth parents are from. We have, it's just kind of become like part of the conversation in our home, and we hope that that will be the right thing. You know, part of the challenge is that she's still a baby. She's 16 months old, and she can't give us any feedback yet about what feels right and when she wants to talk about it or when she doesn't. And as she grows up, we'll more follow her lead in that. And for now, we just kind of have to do the best that we can do. You know, making our own decisions.
We also talked to our older daughter about saying, like, there are some things that it's going to be up to your sister to decide how to share or not. And that we have told her, you know, it's not up to us to share those details. So like if your friends ask questions or, you know, other people, you know, we've done a lot of reading and research and reading different things from adoptees about their experience. Because in the 80s, 90s, 70s, right, there's a lot of literature now on, you know, adoptees that found out that they were adopted in their late teens or 20s or 30s or even beyond. And what does that do to their, you know, emotional state and a whole host of other things. And so we've tried to learn from that, but also know that it's the adoptee's story to tell. And so we're in a unique position that we have an older daughter. So, you know, she might get questions about her sister, and we have to say, like, here's some language that you can use to answer it. There's also our families, our parents and some siblings and cousins. Also, there's a really good book called In on It. I don't remember the author, but we can add it later. In on It, which is like basically a book for your like next circle of community, whoever that might be, who might be interacting with your adopted child, so that, you know, if my mom has our daughter in the supermarket, there's an example of this, like someone's going to ask her a question, and then how do you answer? Right. So it's kind of helping the next level of family or friends with the language to use around it, especially when it comes to a transracial adoption. Even if not, but it's without, like Rena said, more obvious in a transracial adoption.
Kenzie just dropped the name and the author. Awesome. Thank you, Kenzie.
Thanks, Kenzie.
Kenzie's fantastic. She was our social worker and was on this journey with us. So we're incredibly appreciative and grateful to her.
We're just a little bit obsessed with her. That's okay. So this sounds just like you're handling it so beautifully, the way that you approach adoption and talk about it in your family and everything. Just it's heartwarming for me. I feel the love coming from you guys, and it's absolutely amazing. Do you have, before we go, because I know I've taken up so much of your time, just kind of last minute words of wisdom or advice or guidance that you would give to anybody who's contemplating adoption or in the process of pursuing adoption, what you would tell them?
I would say, I think the most important is to trust your instincts and what feels right, and just to go with that. And if you need to do more research, and you know, reach out to your community and ask for questions or resources. But for me, in this whole experience, it's just everything has felt right. And even with the long wait until we brought our daughter home, it's like she is part of our family and she is our daughter, and that felt right over, you know, even with the other disappointment of mismatches or other potential matches, it clearly wasn't right. And I'm not one who really believes in like everything happens for a reason, but like this, like it just felt right. From the moment Kenzie called me on a Friday afternoon to tell us there's a possibility of a match, like I turned to my wife and said, "This is our baby." And then we went through 3 weeks of back and forth, and then we got to meet her.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna cry. It's beautiful.
The only thing I would add to that is I agree with everything Noah said. And if you're really serious about adoption, my best advice is don't delay, because it did take way longer than we anticipated it would take. And while I also agree that, we did not intend for our kids to be 7.5 years apart, it's been an absolutely amazing age difference for them, and they're so close, and we wouldn't change anything about it. And that wait was hard.
Right.
So if you're really serious, talk to the people you need to talk to, do what you have to do, and start.
Beautiful.
And we're happy.
Yeah.
We're happy to, I don't know how it was commented or anything, but through Yesh Tikva, we're happy to be a resource if anyone wants to talk privately. Because they're not easy decisions, but they're, growing family is important. This is a really beautiful way to do it if it's right for you.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much again for taking time on your Friday to come talk with us. So much shared. I love this conversation so much. We'd love to have you back on another time if you're open to it.
Sure.
Pleasure.
All right. Thank you so much, and Shabbat Shalom.
All right, Shabbat Shalom. Thank you.